Hello, everybody, and welcome to an amazing new font-hashed podcast. Fia Jeff, What is your first reaction of the new font of Strike?
New font.
Yeah, the
I don't
letters.
even know what that means.
Yeah, so he chose different letters. The
New
letters are
font. Oh,
different.
new font.
Yeah,
Oh, new font. Yeah, I didn't realize. Did he?
yeah, that was part of the announcement.
Wow, that's really worth an announcement.
They
Oh, now I've opened the website and there's a lot of pictures moving.
they changed the
It's like Harry Potter.
so I guess we're just gonna look at your Twitter feed and then discuss that.
No, we have a lot of very interesting technical, smarty ass topics. Okay,
yes,
let's
you
talk about
also-
Strike.
So you also wanna? Do you wanna discuss that other protocol? Did you look at it already? Because I had a
The
brief
Arc?
look at it, but
The Arc stuff.
yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
Why maybe?
Well,
Just yes or
if
no.
if you're alive after the Strike conversation.
Okay, so I haven't
What
looked.
else? What are all the other topics?
We're just going to move through the other topics. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, because this is something, there were a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about, but we haven't recorded for like a couple of weeks now, and they were also subject matters of discussion for at least briefly during some of the Miami panels. So, and it's also on your Twitter feed. And this is the whole thing about the
My
fact that
Twitter
a
feed is just
UTXO.
trolling.
Hmm?
Oh, okay, the ETXO.
Yeah.
We discussed that in the first episode of this podcast.
Yes, we already discussed. I'm aware. But I wanted to go a little bit further with it because it's not just the lightning thing. It's there in general, right? It's and even there was a panel with moderated by Aron Aron van Weerdem, the journalist guy with the hair.
Yeah.
And I think I don't
Was
recall
there
who
a
it
panel
was.
about this?
Yeah, well, he in his introduction he framed it as like, okay, it was about scaling, and that there's still like this scaling limit of the fact that you have to have a UTXO in order to have Bitcoin, or at least
Mhm.
access to a UTXO, or and with scaling, and then the entire conversation for the most part was about ossification, and not so much about this stuff. I mean, the implication was that we can do a lot of developments on opcodes and shit, and then we're gonna help this. But thinking about that, I don't think you can help it all that much. It's like just Bitcoin doesn't scale. So what do you think?
Well, I think you must settle for some compromises. You can do custodial stuff, like better custodial stuff, like the federation stuff. That apparently now federations are a very good thing. The Fedimint stuff is a huge hype. I don't know if it is, but in other times people would say this is ridiculous custodial. We hate custodial, but now it's getting more acceptance. And still, but Liquid, for example, is still a total failure, I think. But I think that has other causes because Liquid's super hard to use,
Mm-hmm.
and your money gets stuck there. You have to KYC yourself on an exchange to withdraw. So, so, and the other trade-off that is good is drive chain, but everybody hates that. So, but there's these other things like you hate all these things that compromise on stuff. You don't want to compromise anywhere, but the state chain stuff and this arc thing. The arc thing is, I don't think it's very good, but it's a thing.
Yeah, okay. I haven't looked at Arc enough to even know what it's about.
it's
Because
impossible to understand.
I
But
hated the fact that they just didn't explain what it was in the first sentence.
yeah, no.
So I still don't know.
Why do people do this? Like it's a marketing
Uh-huh.
thing. Like you have
Yeah.
to say a bunch of features. It's very cool, and no one wants to understand why it's. But in fact, people do want to understand, especially if it's a Bitcoin conference.
Mm-hmm. So like with the compromises thing is like you can the reason I'm not completely interested in it is because I think you can always make the compromise, right? Making the compromise is not the hard part necessarily. But
Yeah,
I
but
do
you have a set of different compromises, and
no, but
picking the
I do
best
think
one
it's
is
I do think there's something interesting here, right? Where okay, Bitcoin doesn't scale. Why doesn't it scale? It's because we're trying to achieve this global state thing, and that's really expensive. And we do it for the trust minimization and the neutrality of the system, etc. And as a consequence, like there's not a lot of bandwidth, so access to that bandwidth is like access to block space is gets expensive. The moment blocks actually are full on some consistent basis, it's like you want to get in or you don't want to get in. If you want to get in, you're just gonna have to pay, because this idea of you're just gonna wait and it will clear, it's like probably at some point it won't, right? There's like this price range, and if you just don't pay up, you don't get in.
yeah.
And if you want to, getting in means doing a transaction, like using a UTXO as an input. So if you want to what is owning Bitcoin, right? Is owning Bitcoin only when you are able to satisfy the spending conditions on an input and are able to pay for that inclusion? Because then, like by definition, whole lot of people more people won't own Bitcoin than people do, probably. I don't know. I haven't run the numbers, but let's say that's the case. Then why would all the other people that don't actually own Bitcoin want to or honor honor it as a unit of account, right? Why would they want Bitcoin if they can never actually own Bitcoin? And then the reason would be because the people with money do care, because they actually do own Bitcoin, and by the sheer fact that they are economically dominant, the other people, it's just the thing that they need to want in order to get somewhere in the world, right? Because then it's money. And the interesting part there is then if you look at like some custodial lightning situation, it's sort of real and not real, in the sense that there is a trust that the on the smaller transaction size level, for instance, like with just the HLC problem, right? So fees go up, the actual serious Lightning transactions are larger transactions, etc. Then everything that is below the threshold is now on a trust basis. But in terms of it actually being a unit, or the unit Bitcoin, it is real the moment another channel somewhere on the route starts to settle it. And they can do that because they have very large balances. So for them, it's actually real. So the semi-real Bitcoin that the plebs collect are actually part of the 21 million accounting. They're just the fact that they are separated, like that they own a little stuff. There's some trust involved there, but they can make them real for the people who actually do own Bitcoin. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Do you follow?
But I yes, I follow, but I disagree that owning Bitcoin it means necessarily owning a key and doing transactions in the Bitcoin blockchain. I think custodial Bitcoin is still Bitcoin, especially like I think your explanation there, like you're mixing up custodial Lightning wallets with the HCLC problem on Lightning. But yeah, I think they're similar. If you want a balance on a custodial provider, it's still Bitcoin, because as long as you can still pay other people with that, and for these other people it will be real Bitcoin, or it will be Bitcoin that someone will take and will send to another custodial provider, but eventually it will be real Bitcoin.
So
it's still real Bitcoin for the custodial provider. So,
but isn't the number one problem that Bitcoin solves is the question, is my money real? Right? That's like a large chunk of the purpose of like all the stuff that we do with the blockchain and the all that stuff.
Why having a custodial Bitcoin breaks that? It's
I don't know.
real.
It's just that so if the question is like, is it real Bitcoin? Then at least you should be able to answer it with the same level of certainty that Bitcoin provides, no? Because if the sole purpose of the system is to answer that question in the best way possible, then it should account it will account for everything. But then there is but it doesn't. It has a resolution to what it can account, and that resolution is defined by the fee rate. What?
What if you have a key, and you make that key in your computer, and you using Bitcoin with that key, and you can say it's real, but you don't know that your computer has a virus, and that key is being someone else has that key.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know if the key that you hold is really.
Yeah,
like
but
you don't know if the Bitcoin is real.
Yes, but
in the sense that you.
Yes, but you do know that the Bitcoin are accounted for among that key.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, but in the same sense, you're saying that the custodial providers can create new Bitcoin. That's the problem.
Yeah, potentially, depending on the system, but yeah. Well, they can't create new Bitcoin, right? That's the point. It's that they can't.
Yeah, they can create virtual Bitcoin.
Yes.
Right. I don't see that as a problem. Yeah, I think you have a you don't have the actual. Okay.
It's not about the problem, right? It's not about because
I see.
It's not about the problem. It's just getting the definitions straight.
Juggling definitions. Yeah, the definitions. Getting the definition straight is very boring. But I see what you.
So what is so? And now we're going to talk about Strike.
You have a claim to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, the claim to Bitcoin doesn't necessarily translate to a Bitcoin.
So now we can talk about Strike, because he's going to onboard like the global South 3 billion people.
That was not my problem with Strike, by the way.
No, but that is what Strike is doing or saying that they're going to do.
I don't. Yeah.
And then
I wish they were doing that.
But it's at least an interesting question. It's like, okay, that's what you're doing, but we just discussed what we discussed, and then are you going to onboard them on Bitcoin? Or are you going to onboard them on Strike? Or are you just going to onboard them on Bitcoin, the unit of account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then by proxy unit of exchange function? I don't know. What is he providing?
Well, I don't think this question is good with Strike. You could use another example, like Wallet of Satoshi, that has millions of users. I don't know how many users they have.
Did they do like a big announcement? Did they change their font? Via Jeff.
I don't know. I never used it.
Did Wallet of Satoshi change its font? Otherwise, it's not critical to talk about.
Because Strike has a balance denominated in USD. So they're not even onboarding people to the unit of account. It's but I see your question. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know where will that question lead us, because I see you if you manage if we manage to onboard people to the Bitcoin, the unit of account,
Mhm.
that's my goal. That's what I want. So
Yeah, because you want them to pump your bags, right?
no, I want the central banks to burn.
Okay, fair enough. Um, hmm. Yeah, I mean, it does help Bitcoin at least if people use it as a unit. And I think, like I said, it's like the moment you have like a Bitcoin standard, industry will still use it. Uh, industry will actually use Bitcoin, so it's the
What
proxy.
industry?
The
Industry.
proxy is enough. Like just the.
You mean like the gold in the gold standard? People still made jewels. Like what's the name of the things you made with gold? Necklaces and whatever.
and rings. No, I
Rings.
mean no. I mean just that in like a in the far future or the short future, whatever the future of Bitcoin, where it's like hyper Bitcoinized, where the economy, the businesses, they among themselves they actually use Bitcoin with all the smart contracting fancy stuff. But under the assumption that the plebs, it's too expensive for the plebs. That the reason that they would still go along with it, right, is because the rest is actually using it, and you can have the proxy and it's functional. But I forgot what I wanted to say.
Well, if we had a system like you love the state and the countries and the nation state, whatever. If we had a system in which each country had its own, like a bank that holds real Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and they issue paper virtual Bitcoins to the citizens, and then these countries they settle the stuff using the blockchain. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know how to explain, but you get it. Do you think that would be a bad system? And if that system was in place, like it was somehow during the gold standard, do you think it would be possible or it would be easy for the system to break and fiat currency be introduced again?
No, because I don't think. I think it's like better because of the mechanic that I explained. Is that you can make the fake. Can make the fake Bitcoin real by actually spending it towards somebody who actually does own Bitcoin, because that's probably like a channel relationship. So let's say I have a Bitcoin bank, and I have fake Bitcoin from my bank. It's like the moment I'm sending it to somebody else via Lightning, it's like the moment it leaves my fake channel with my bank, it goes into the real Bitcoin world. It's only then that like the size probably too low, and then there's some trust between them. But ultimately, it as a unit, it will be able to settle on chain somewhere, being part of something bigger. That's something that's just something you don't have in that way in the like a gold standard.
Okay, good answer.
But I remember. So the point is that because you kind of have to assume the worst case scenario for whatever contract you're writing, a lot of the optimizations that we're probably able to write are all optimizations in the sense that you can make this transaction cheaper over time because there are more complex things you can do within that time. But you're still able. You still need to be able to pay the actual threshold of the transaction, right? In the worst case scenario, it's just that 99 of 100 times that doesn't happen. So you can discount that one time with the 99 other times so you actually use the system.
But what if you're really unlucky? Okay.
Yeah, well, that's like where actually is that price floor of utilizing Bitcoin on chain? But the point is that all the fancy pantsy stuff that we're gonna do and implement, they're there with the benefit of the high tier transactions anyway, because they're not necessarily helping the pleb tier transactions all that much. Probably it will move in the direction, but it's not like because of the fee threshold. It's not necessarily a problem of getting all the keys into the UTXO. It's just able to the accounting resolution in terms of satoshis that you're actually able to settle. Because we're probably gonna get to a point where sure we can evolve like a shit ton of keys and people, we can onboard everybody in terms of keys. It's just that they ultimately can't express themselves in a single UTXO.
So their key is useless for them.
Hmm?
The fact that they have a key is completely useless.
No, it means shared ownership it might mean shared ownership in some way, right? I mean, if you have a board,
Yeah, but
let's
these
say
things
you need
do
your
not
majority
work.
voting
Yeah, okay.
for the decisions that you make. But the whole point is that okay, the majority decides, but we're not gonna split up necessarily. But we might split up. People are free to leave the UTXO the moment they want,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then they, in the worst case scenario, they're going to do that completely on their own for very high fees, etc. Then is it still worth it? That's like because it's the reason that it is because of the same scaling limit, like the low bandwidth, only 7 whatever transactions per second stuff, right? But it's like a boomerang coming around, because that initiates the market, and then the market becomes another floor of entry to the system itself, not just getting not in terms of bytes, but in terms of sats. So it's only for the rich, right? It's only for the it's Bitcoin's not for plebs. That's the conclusion.
Yeah.
By definition.
That's the conclusion. Yeah. Yeah, but many things are not for plebs, and there are things that are for plebs, and they're not for other people, but still you benefit from that thing existing.
Sure. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's observing and reasoning about it. That's like my conclusion. Which is ironic, because all these people portray themselves as plebs. We're very focused on these.
Why do they do that?
Global South.
What the hell,
Global South
Stop
stuff.
using
right?
that term. What?
The poor people.
Global South.
We're going to help the poor. We're going to help the poor people with the system. Okay, well, sure. Okay, we can't also have to say that it can benefit them. Sure. Yes.
It's not it won't, it can't, like it will, must, it has to, by design.
Yes.
Okay, let's just, why do people call themselves plebs? Because they don't have Twitter clout? Is that it? That was my understanding.
It's something like that. It's also that, I think. But yeah, it's that vein. I guess some snark, humbleness or something.
Yeah. But do they want the Twitter cloud, or they're proud of being plebs? They're so proud that they want to become famous and have 1 million followers just so they can say they're plebs.
No, I think it's like a sign of desperation, in the sense that when you're a pleb, you don't own anything, no land at least, but they do own Bitcoin, and that's like it's their final hope. It's like, I'm a pleb, I'm stuck in this situation, but if you just pump my bags enough, I'll make it.
I don't think that. I think that these plebs, they're many of them are very rich. They just don't have Twitter followers. I think that's
Well,
the entire focus.
You're on Twitter. I'm not even on Twitter, so perhaps you're right.
When I saw this thing starting, I had like 50 followers.
How many followers do you have?
I have a lot now.
60, almost 16.5K.
Yeah. I
With
have a
them.
lot now.
So HTLCs are a scam.
Yeah. Yeah, I should stop posting this stuff.
Oh, and Bitcoin decentralization is doomed because of
What do you think of that? Have you seen
accelerators.
that?
Yes, but it's
Yes.
old. It's been there for a very long time.
Really? No,
Yeah.
you mean it's been on the exchange website.
Hmm? No, I mean, did blockchain.com, I think, or block.com? Is that it? Which one am I thinking about? You could already do that for a
But
very long time.
It's way too expensive.
It's
I think
about
it's
it.
for
Oh,
people
so
that are
we do have to explain what we're talking about. So it's the mempool accelerators TM service. So you can pay to get your transaction included, right?
Yeah, you pay
Yeah.
over Lightning, and they pay the miners directly, and the miner includes your transaction.
I'm not sure it's what the impact on the decentralization is going to be. It's just that your mempool is not gonna it's going to help you less.
It's much more expensive to do these things. But I think they had the service, and I looked to one of these servers, and they were charging like $100 when the transaction fees were at the minimum level, and I think it was because you could scam people using double spends, like someone accepted a zero confirmation transaction and then would go and double spend that person, but your transaction wouldn't be included because RBF was not enabled. So you could go to this exchange website and pay a shit ton of money and the mining pool would help you scan the other person. I think that was it, and that explains why it was so expensive.
Well, it's a reasonable incentive, I guess.
I think my audio is broken. No.
Is your audio broken?
Yeah.
What? You're able to hear me, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was afraid my Audacity recording was.
Oh yeah, we
broken,
already
but
had
it's
that
not.
once. That's good. Stacks is a broken shitcoin.
Why are you looking at my?
Yes, because we're gonna talk about your Twitter feed.
That's interesting. This tax thing. You should have listened to the debate between Ruben Sonson, your cousin, and the Stacks CEO.
When?
That happened.
Where?
That happened like 2 years ago.
I think I recall that. Yeah.
The blockchain debate podcast, something like that, and the Stacks guy just kept saying he had a degree and he had a master's degree or whatever. Therefore, his project was good. He knew everything, and Ruben Sonson didn't have a degree, so he didn't know what he was talking about. And turns out Ruben Sonson was right. Okay, next topic. The ARC stuff. The ARC stuff is.
Oh, right.
No. Let's talk about the.
Yes, but I do. What can you tell about ARC? Do you know?
Well,
do you?
what I can tell is that the guy. Have you seen something like the idea is that the
I saw the website.
The website. Okay, you didn't see the presentation.
No, I only I the website and I read a bunch of text. That's
so
what I
the
did.
idea is that you put your money in this virtual place, and there's a central provider that creates new virtual blocks every 5 seconds, and So every 5 seconds you can make a transaction on this virtual thing. But the part that's not well explained and is that every time you put your money there, you get a ticket, and you can use that ticket to pay other people with that ticket. Like it's like a UTXO, they call VTXO, and you can, when you pay, you destroy your ticket, and the other person gets another ticket, or you can just exchange tickets for yourself. But and you can do that every 5 seconds. But what happens is that the central provider has to commit itself to paying you the value of that ticket on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin chain. And to do that, it must create a transaction on the Bitcoin chain that is committing to an output that has all the UTXOs created on that round.
Mm-hmm.
And that transaction that it puts on the blockchain, after 4 weeks, the central provider can get it back to itself. So if you wanna exit, you have 4 weeks to exit. Which means the central provider has to have a shit ton of money, and it has to create a Bitcoin transaction every 5 seconds. And if you make like a million Satoshi transaction every 5 seconds, paying to yourself, again and again, every time you make that, the provider has to park a million Satoshis for 4 weeks. Do you get it?
Yeah. So but
this is never going to work, right?
No, but the 4 weeks is. So the commitment on chain, is it like a rolling? Are they?
No, each commitment is independent.
Okay, but they leave it on chain. They leave the UTXO for those 4 weeks.
Well, you can hold your ticket for 4 weeks, and during that 4 weeks, you can go on chain. You publish that transaction, that spends the. Let me say it again. The central provider creates a transaction that spends to this other transaction that is not published. And if you want to withdraw unilaterally, you go on chain, you publish the transaction, and then you publish your ticket transaction.
I see.
Money back.
And
now when you want to transfer, like you want to change that ticket to another ticket or send to someone else, you give that ticket to the central provider. And now you sign something that allows the central provider to claim the ticket back in case if you wanna give the ticket back and then you go to the blockchain, the central provider has to dispute against you on the Bitcoin chain and get its money back. Does that make sense?
Yes. I guess I have to think about it.
Yeah, it's very weird. Okay.
Yeah, I have to think about it. I'm not gonna do that now. Interesting. But you said there is a presentation. There is a presentation as well, because I haven't looked.
on the Miami conference.
Oh, okay, that's better.
Yeah, but
that's better.
The presentation doesn't explain anything.
Oh.
Okay, but with the things I told you, maybe
Yeah.
you understand the presentation better, and you'll be able to understand it.
We'll see.
Not even Ruben Sonson was understanding it, so.
Oh, he'll get it eventually.
Yeah, he will, and then he will explain it in human words.
I mean, it was it really was a fun time. Like with Bitcoin, I guess in the early years there was because there were all these experiments and ideas and like these shit coins and altcoins and all this stuff, and it was like white papers and it was very easy to just get into all this stuff, because if you spent the time understanding Bitcoin, you already got a lot of the computer science stuff and the like Sybil attacks and all these things you have to take into consideration, and then you can try that on all these white papers. And then I guess in 2017 it just became stupid to do that because it was like a flood and it was all bullshit. So then that was like the definitive end, for me at least, of that exercise. But it's fun to still do it with Bitcoin stuff. Yeah, so
yeah, I didn't pick the first part. I just started paying attention to these things recently. But well, some people are much better than others at explaining. Ruben Sonson is very good.
So how long haven't they made a podcast?
The Unhashed people.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. There was one like 6 months ago, maybe.
Right.
That's your fault for not giving them money.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And also,
you never gave them money.
I gave
there was
money.
only you gave money. There was who was MK Ultra? MK Ultra is always
he
always
a lot
paid.
of money. Yeah. I think MK Ultra and you are the same person, maybe.
You think?
Yeah.
So then I did give them money. I was the one and only sole sponsor of the show. If that's actually
you
true.
And Peter McCormack.
Oh yeah, that's right. He also sponsored. I don't know. I guess was it? What did you think of the show?
Unhashed?
Yeah.
It was good except for Mario. I like the lightning round more than all the other stuff. I don't know. I like the show. The show was good.
They had some decent prep and good people to talk about it. Well, they had Ruben too. If they needed something, that they had Ruben.
I think the first one that I listened ever was one that they spent the entire news section talking about miners and mining pools, and then apparently Ruben didn't like that topic at all, so they were teasing him about it, and I got that impression that this guy Ruben was a guy that disliked mining. That was all I knew about him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they've been doing it for they did it a long time. They had a good run. Yeah, interesting. What other Bitcoin podcasts did you listen to?
Well, I'm subscribed to many on my Antenna Pod application, but I read the titles, and when they're stupid, I don't listen. The Bitcoin Review one, the Citadel Dispatch, I listen sometimes, rarely. That Marty Bent thing, where he interviews all the conspiracy theorists. I like that, but I don't listen very often. Too many ads. No, just kidding. There are only ads in the beginning. The Stefan Oliveira guy, that the podcast, it used to have a lot of good interviews, but recently it's all, I don't know, it's just a bunch of politics.
Yeah, right. It was very technical at the start, and some of them still are.
Yeah, I like the what Bitcoin did when it's about some technical stuff, because especially when I don't understand very well, because I know the host won't understand it at all, so he will make interesting questions. And also the guest will try to explain it without assuming too much. But 90% of the the episodes are Bitcoin and this financial markets, whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I skipped those as well. Same with Stefan Livera. But yeah, Chain Code Lab podcast, but that's only once in a while.
That. That's very good. What else? The Bitcoin Uptech one. It's just they reading through the newsletter. But sometimes there's good stuff there.
I think the best podcast right now, I think, is Bitcoin Review.
I think it's this one. Well, since we just eliminated all the other podcasts, we may be on the ranking.
You mean this podcast? No, because we're number one in our niche for sure. We are the number one Bitcoin StarCraft podcast in the world.
Well, that you have to do what you have to do.
So, I mean, we're too micro niche. Well, you're not micro anymore. You're still a niche internet celebrity, but with 16.5K followers. I mean, that's not micro.
Well, you don't know how many followers I have on Nostr. I have like 1,000 million fake spam.
Well, you're the Nostr godfather, I guess. So, how does it feel to know that you introduced the rebirth of the web 2.0?
It's a good feeling. Whenever I'm not worried about everything breaking, it's a good feeling.
I can imagine. Any Nostr stuff? Any did anything? I don't follow Nostr.
Well, apparently, I heard from people that were in the Miami conference. There was this Miami conference, Have
we've been talking about it the entire episode.
You don't care about it, but I also don't care about it. But apparently, the Bitcoiners, they like to meet each other and hug each other and spill beer into each other, and that's part of liking Bitcoin, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And now, for some reason, it's also part of. I don't like how the people do this, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, what I was going to say is that people said there was as much as Nostr talk on this conference as there was Bitcoin talk. So this is both good and also bad, because that may that may mean that Nostr will be just a niche thing with a few Bitcoin users forever.
Only Bitcoiners will care. But dude, that's what you need. I mean, there are so many. Yes, but dude, there's so many of these fucking protocols. There are so many of these fucking protocols. And then what are some reasonably successful on Matrix? What's the
Mastodon?
The Mastodon one? What's it called?
It's called Mastodon.
No, Mastodon is an implementation of a protocol.
That's not really true.
Yeah.
But it's called ActivityPub.
Yeah, ActivityPub. Yeah. So, I mean, those are like two reasonably okay-ish ones. Do you think they're gonna go anywhere?
No, because Nostr is going to eat their lunch. No, I mean, well,
in order to even exist, you have to have some group.
I think it has to start somewhere, right? That's why we're doing this StarCraft Bitcoin thing. We have to start on a niche. Then later we can expand to Warcraft, maybe. I don't know.
What other games? Well, we could include like Nintendo games, I guess. Because it's like Blizzard on PC and Nintendo on console. And that covers a whole bunch of my
Yeah, I used to play
gaming history.
Nintendo games a million years ago.
So what is your favorite Nintendo game?
Jesus Christ, what are these questions? Uh,
You
I
wanted
don't
to
know.
you wanted to expand our horizons. We're expanding horizons.
I don't know what's my favorite game. I played that Nintendo 64 a lot, and then I played a lot of emulator games for Super Nintendo. But
And which one of those did you like in particular?
I don't really remember. I liked many. Oh, I think Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger? Ah, that's a good one. Although I do think Secret of Mana is better because it's not turn-based as an adventure game. But yeah, Chrono Trigger is good.
I like the
I played that one.
turn bit. Yeah, I played all these RPGs, even some very weird ones that I had never heard about when I found the ROMs for them. But yeah, Secret of Mana 2. That's Secret of Mana 2. There was a Secret Mana sequel that existed with a Japanese name, but it was in English that I played. That it was good too.
Yeah, so it's actually, what is it? Seiken I don't know what the Japanese name is. And then Secret of Mana is like
yeah, that one.
s-
Second Densetsu. Second Densetsu.
yeah, that one. And then Secret of Mana was like that one, 2 or 3 or something. Yeah, I think my favorite game is, I guess, Super Metroid, if I have to pick. That's a
Yeah.
really fucking good game.
Yeah, I think I never liked that one very much. I played it, but I know that a lot of people loved it.
Or Ocarina of Time. It's like between those two. Because I think Ocarina of Time was also like there was like a magical experience. But Super Metroid as well, it's the ambience of the game. I don't know, it's yeah, it's really good. Okay, so now
I
we're
played a game on that Wii. Is Wii the name of that
Yeah.
thing you have to point and shake your hand?
yes.
So I wanted
that's
to
the
talk
Wii,
about a game that I played on that console,
which is
which is a football game, soccer, whatever. And I think they made it once, like the first edition of this game. I think it was Pro Evolution Soccer or something like that. The first edition for the Wii, you would play it like an RTS game. You would select the player, tell it to go
Mhm.
somewhere, and then you select another player, tell it to go somewhere, like you point him to the screen. And it was
that's interesting.
that was
How
a
did it
very
play?
nice. It was a
Yeah?
very nice experience. Yeah. And I
Interesting.
think no one liked it because the next versions they didn't have this. It was just a normal soccer game. And I
But then
remember
all
playing it like, with my cousin. It was from my cousin, and he was just shitting on the UX of the game while I was loving it. I was thinking it's a magical way of playing soccer games. Yeah.
Interesting. No, I never played that Wii game. I'm afraid.
Okay. So, did you watch the guys dressed as wizards
Yeah.
at the Miami conference?
Yeah.
What do you think of these
Uh,
guys? Like, not the technical aspects, just their
Udi
personalities.
and Eric.
Yeah.
So I'm not really on Twitter, so I don't like get a lot of that stuff.
Me neither. But you're in the unhashed Telegram group.
But I think Eric. I just don't know enough of the recent history of like why they are in like wizard costumes. Like I know the central plot points a bit, right? Like I get why they are in wizard costumes, but it's like I'm not on par with the lore.
So one
But
thing
they used to
I
be able
find
to
it
do.
weird,
They used to be able to at least, and they still do. They're able to have a serious discussion of substance about Bitcoin.
It's hard to understand. Like it's hard because I think they're just trolling all the time, or they start with a serious discussion and then they start trolling in the middle, and you don't know. I think everybody was having everybody has that kind of experience with them. But I don't interact with them, but that's my impression. But
I have to recall the conversation, but I think it wasn't that because it was with Shinobi, right?
Shinobi and Matt Corella, and
he went,
the Dutch journalist.
Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was him.
Oh yeah, Matt was there as well. Interesting.
Yeah, but one thing that I don't understand is why they claim to be like, why are they the leaders of the breaking Bitcoin movement? Since they didn't do anything, right? But they are self-proclaimed, like it's like the I don't know.
They jumped that bandwagon, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I like the destroying Bitcoin bandwagon is fine in some sense. I mean, that's the whole point of it. You shouldn't be pussy about it. In some sense, we should be attacking Bitcoin. But yeah, so I get that part. I also think it's like easy to, because I guess there's a lot of hypocrisy in like Bitcoin Twitter.
Yeah.
It's harping back on what we talked about in the beginning, right? If the conclusion is like, well, it's not for plebs, then the talking points have to shift, right? If all of a sudden we realize like, oh, that's actually what's going on. So it's also easy to make fun of. They're easy targets because there's like a lot of hypocrisy. But the hypocrisy is like also you're not actually attacking. You're actually attacking narratives and not people necessarily about the consistency of their narratives a lot of the time. So it's very easy to just combine all the stupid takes into some caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's what you're gonna do about it, right? You can not play. Maybe that's the only way to win here.
Yeah.
That's what I thought about the wizards on the stage. Just don't enter the stage with them, right? Don't sit next down to the the guy in the wizard costume, right? If you can just not do that, and then you won, right? Yeah, that's what I think about it.
Okay.
Anything else?
No. Is that like, did we cover all your topics?
I guess for now, at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.